Not all stories are fiction. Telling a true story is a responsibility. Someone has entrusted you with a set of facts and they're counting on you to relate them. The storyteller's job is to make every story accurate and engaging. It's a responsibility WOAI Television's Denise Cabello takes seriously, and a craft she wants to pass on. Welcome to BexarCast. I'm Randy Langford, and this is BexarCast, a weekly interview with business, political, educational, and nonprofit leaders. We're examining the relationships between all four and how each one benefits from the success of the other three. Denise Cabello started interning for San Antonio Living in 2012. She was then brought onto the crew as a production assistant. While working as a PA, the San Antonio native took charge of the show's social media stream. From there, she became an associate producer and editor. Now you know her as the co-host of San Antonio Living. When she's not on TV, Denise enjoys spending time with her husband, Evan, and their daughter, Isabella. Denise, thanks for joining me. I appreciate you making some time for me.
Absolutely. For you, Randy, anything.
Oh, you're sweet. It's very generous of you. I'm especially excited to have you on BexarCast because a lot of students involved in the festival are getting their first taste of media production, and to let them hear from somebody who's in that industry is of value to them. So tell me about your first experience in creating media. When did you decide this was your gig?
You know, it's funny because it kind of stumbled across it, and so that thing that they tell you that your career is never, you can always change. That's pretty much true. But I remember the first time that I thought media is something cool, I was probably about 10 years old, and I wanted to be Oprah. That was my first encounter with seeing, you know, that presence on TV and realizing that it was a person. She's a person, and she did her thing. And so that was when I really found an interest in it, but I didn't get heavily involved until college. Through internships. And so my first internship was when I was going for my undergrad, and that was in the sports department because I knew I was going to be a sports reporter. Yeah. And then, you know, life happens and things change. And then I got into an internship with lifestyle, and that's how I got connected with San Antonio Living. And I'm lucky to say that it has become my career at this point. So I'm very blessed to have worked with the people that I've worked with, right? And to be one of the co-hosts of San Antonio Living. I mean, you know, Shelley, who better to learn from than her? I mean, I just took advantage of it and soaked it all up like a sponge.
When you went to your family and said, when you went to your parents and said, you know, I think I want to be in TV. I think I want to be in the media. I know when I went to my parents and told them that, they were less than thrilled. How did your parents respond?
My parents have always, of course, they've been supportive of pretty much anything that I've chosen, almost anything that I've chosen to do. But my mom jokes because when I was first, you know, kind of like flirting with the idea of being in media, I told her I wanted to do behind the camera. And then we went to a Spurs game, and I was trying to get on that big screen on the Spurs, Spurs game any chance I got. Yeah, so she was laughing at me saying, you know, you don't want to be behind the camera, you want to be in front of the camera. But through the path that I've taken, I've been fortunate to work both. And I think that has been really important, and it's been such a growing tool to learn how both parts operate. I don't think that I would be as successful as I am on camera if I didn't know how it worked behind the camera first.
Yeah, it's always helpful to know what the other guys, or the guys on the other side of the camera, either side, are going through.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
it makes you a lot more empathetic, no matter which side of the camera you're on. Oh yeah, I see what you're dealing with.
Yeah, and if you're friends with the ones that are behind the camera, when you're on camera, they're going to help you look better. So it never hurts.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's your favorite part about working in the media? It's the glamour, right?
Oh, obviously. It's funny because we get that question a lot. Who does your hair and makeup? I do my hair and makeup. I buy my own clothes. It's a grind, even, just to get ready for on camera every day.
You think I roll out looking like this?
Come on, right? No, but my favorite part is just being able to tell someone's story. That's fascinating to me,
right?
To be able to hear someone tell their story and then figure out the best way to portray it. Because how can you tell someone's life story, years and years of their life, condensed into such a short span? It's been really fun learning how to do that better and figuring out how to tell this full story in just a few minutes. But that's definitely my favorite part. I would have never met tons of people that I came across. You, for example, would have never met had I not been in this job. And so it's really cool being able to get to meet so many people, learn from so many people, and then share a little bit of their life.
Right. Yeah, that was always my favorite part of working in the media, was the people I got to meet and the stories I got to tell. That's why I was in it. And you hear the journalism, old journalism line about who, what, when, where, why, and how. Why was always my favorite part. That was the question I always came back to, was why?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So Oprah was your North Star.
Yes.
Was it always television? Did you ever consider any other media?
No, I for a while didn't consider media at all. So when I was about 10, like I told you, Oprah, my North Star, but I also wanted to be a lawyer and a cheerleader. So at this young age, those were the three things: be Oprah, be a lawyer, be a cheerleader. And I cheered for a really long time. So I cheered from elementary school through college. And I worked for a professional cheerleading company. So I traveled the world teaching cheerleaders. I would teach them routines. I would judge competitions, things like that. So on ESPN, when you see those cheerleading competitions,
sure,
that's the company that I worked for. So I was always with them and traveling, and it was great. It was so much fun. I have a strong passion for cheerleading. And I thought that was going to be my career forever. But then one day I woke up and I wasn't as young as
I'm not 15 anymore. Yeah, the knees can't. Yeah. The spirit is willing, but the knees are gone. Yeah,
exactly. And it also, with a career like that, it was very fluid and it wasn't as stable as something that I had. Once I was growing up, I wanted a little more stability. And the next thing that came to my mind was media. I remembered, this other passion that I found at a young age was for media. And so that's when I got in that first internship with the sports department, which led to the internship for lifestyle. And at this point, I was older. When I was in my internship with lifestyle, I was pursuing my graduate degree.
Okay.
And I was the old intern. So, there was
Grandma.
Young kids everywhere. Looking at it, it's funny, but I was mid to late 20s when I was in that internship. And that's old for media.
Yeah, to them, that's
if you don't get in,
sure.
Yeah, if you don't get in right after college, you're considered old.
Right.
And so I got into that internship, and I knew that I had to get a job from it. I didn't have the luxury of not having a job at this point. And so I worked really hard, and my whole journey from intern was to intern to production assistant to editor to associate producer to producer to reporter to host.
Right.
So
and that's a pretty linear, that's a pretty reasonable track.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So
and for a lot of
those
people,
high school kids out there, any students who are taking a summer internship
mm-hmm.
that are thinking, I want to be in the media one day, don't be afraid to take an internship that doesn't look like it's on the right path.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you never know which way that path is going to go.
Yeah. And with that said, I knew that I wanted to be a sports reporter. And then I got into that internship and I found out I did not want to be a sports reporter. So you don't really know until you try it what parts of it you love. but that's also what led to the job. So I wouldn't be in this job if I didn't have the internship.
So what was I mean, you're not going to be a cheerleader anymore. And if the media gig doesn't work out, then what? What was your
who knows? Maybe I'll try cheerleading again. No, I don't know.
No, I'm not saying the media gig has obviously worked out, but if it hadn't.
Yeah, well, I think the next thing on my list would be pursuing law. And I think, I took some time between undergrad and grad, and I don't regret that at all. I don't think it hurt. Even now at this point, I feel like if I were to go back to school, I would be so much more focused than I was when I was younger. So I don't think there's ever a wrong time to go to school. I think that if you want to go and learn, a little bit later in life, I'm all for that. I don't think it's ever too late to do that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
When you were first starting out in the media, it can be intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
When you're the new kid on the block, you're the PA, the production assistant. I have no authority. I have no power. I bring coffee. Were you ever intimidated? Was it ever, oh my gosh, what have I gotten myself into? I can't do this.
Oh, absolutely.
Really?
I can't tell you how many days I went home crying. I think, it's hard to start later in life. It was hard for me to get over that. But I just had to get over that. What's the other option? Can't turn back time. So I got over that. And then it's hard to see other people, it's hard not to pit yourself against other people. So when you see other people going after the same thing and you think they're better than me, right, why am I going to keep trying? But you have to learn how to put that out of your mind too. And so it was incredible. It was very intimidating. And then, going from, a lot of people came from smaller markets, smaller towns, and had that experience, and I didn't have that experience. So I just, I think it should always kind of be intimidating. There are still days where I'm intimidated now, and I look back at an interview and think I could have done that better.
Sure.
But I feel like I think that should always be how I feel about this job. Otherwise, I'm not improving. If you're not
a little antsy, you're not stretching.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, that intimidation is real. The word no is real. I got told no so many times, but it just, you have to realize you're not the only one. Right. They're telling no to everybody, so it's not just about you.
And I'm always the optimist, and I've always considered no for now.
Yeah,
it's a good way no right now. I'll come at you again, and we'll see if it's still no.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the comments I hear most often is how fearless the kids in BexarCast are. Mm-hmm. That they'll put their heart on their sleeve. They'll put their work on the internet, the World Wide Web. They're not scared.
Yeah.
But you make a very good point. If you're not a little bit scared, maybe you should try something a little harder.
Yeah.
But I get that all the time, that the kids in BexarCast are fearless.
Mm-hmm.
And they are. Good for them. Bless their hearts.
Yeah.
The internet has had a huge impact on how media is created and how it's shared. What, in your opinion, what's the next generation of media careers going to look like, and how can students prepare for it?
Oh, goodness.
You've got your finger on the pulse. You do this every day.
It's funny because there has always been this fear that TV is going to go away. With all of these streaming services popping up, TV is going to go away. I don't think that's going to happen in my lifetime, at least. And through this pandemic, we've seen that TV hasn't gone away, which I'm very fortunate that it hasn't. But I think what will be the trend is, these media jobs, these virtual jobs. And so I think to be aware of noticing these trends and what's popping up and what's happening. Podcasts, that's a newer thing. So jumping on those trends and finding that. But as far as TV, physical TV, the more you know, the better. If you can do more than one job, they'll find a place for you. So this idea that I'm only going to be a host, I'm only going to be a director, that's fading away. So no more jobs. The more you know, the better. And then I think that there's no limit to what your idea is for the internet or virtual career. If you think of something outlandish, there's a good chance that it's going to be a career. So like if your idea is you think it would never happen, just go for it, because there's a good chance that it will.
And we all have our very own media company right in our pocket.
Yeah.
So yeah, it can be intimidating, but don't let it be paralyzing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I will speak to what you said though, Randy, about the Bear Fest students being fearless. I mean, they were fantastic. Blew my socks off watching those videos. There were so many moments where Shelly and I stopped and looked at each other and thought like, whoa, this is huge. This is a successful piece. And the first one that comes to my mind right now is Children's Shelter. I thought, after watching their piece, I thought how mature of a high schooler to think about telling the story that way. Yeah. That's find out what you're good at and then go for it.
And then go do it, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And you're talking about the team from Jefferson.
Yes.
And they are annually one of the best. They have a great film program at Jefferson, and other schools are catching up. It's funny. The very first year of the festival, we had our premiere, and it was only 20 schools. But after it was over, after all the videos had been screened, one of the teachers caught me in the lobby afterwards and said, "I thought we would walk away with this. I thought we were pretty good, and we didn't win nothing. Yeah." We're going to have to up our game, and exactly. We're ready. We're eager to. We want to, because and that's one of the things we find is the kids at Jefferson, for example. You're a film buff at Jefferson, and you're really engaged. And I'm going to make a video for a nonprofit organization. How fun! How exciting! Then you show up at the Tobin, and there are 40 of you.
Yeah.
And you had no idea. That one kid at Jefferson or South San or Highlands had no idea. There's more than just me. This isn't just me. And that's one of the great benefits that I personally get out of the festival is letting those kids find each other, find out that you're not on your own, that there is a whole subculture, not only in San Antonio, but everywhere of kids that are just as passionate about this as you are. One of the other things we find from the festival is that the kids go in with a pretty light attitude. Like I was saying, oh, this is going to be fun. We get to make a video and we get to work with a nonprofit and we'll drag cameras around and it's also glamorous and exciting. And I've heard this from the teachers that when the kids meet the nonprofit, when they go into the nonprofit, like the children's shelter, they go in and they meet with the executives at the children's shelter and they find out what their mission is and what they're doing and who they're impacting. It suddenly gets very serious. It gets very real. And it's heartening to me the way those kids accept it. That, yeah, this is a tough subject. There are kids that need our help. I'm going to step up. I will not walk away from this. Yeah. And that's part of the fearlessness as well, is I'm not intimidated by the medium, but I'm also not intimidated by the story. I'll go get the story.
Yeah. It can be, that's one of the heaviest parts of it, right? But also one of the most rewarding parts of it. Like with the children's shelter, you're dealing with these are your kids, your Bear Fest kids are kids, and they're seeing on the other side of it what it can be for someone. And so to tell that story, you have this pressure on you, but I think that's when you can shine the brightest, by telling that. And moments for me like that, I love working with our nonprofits here in our city.
Sure. But
really heavy moments for me like that was I've been able to interview a few Holocaust survivors.
Yeah.
And they entrust me with their story. They're allowing me to share their story. And so that's not something to be taken lightly.
No,
And
you have a responsibility. You owe them a debt. I owe it to
exactly.
them to tell this story to the best of my ability. And yeah, I know I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that when you go to that story from the most sincere part of you too, then that really shows itself as well. You can tell when someone's being insincere about a story. So you go from your heart and let that lead. It can be deep, it can be emotional, but let that lead it. And it's okay to show that. Yeah.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Sure. Most of the focus at BexarFest is on the storytelling, like you say, and rightfully so. That's why we exist. That's what the kids are interested in, is that storytelling. But we sneak a little more in under the radar that they're not aware of, that when they get involved in this process, you're going to deal with a client. You become a vendor and you have to deal with a client. You have to tell their story the way they want it told. This isn't the news. Mm-hmm. You're creating a PSA. So you have to satisfy your client. And in the course of doing that, the kids learn communications, they learn negotiations, they learn resource allocation, they learn time management. Yeah. And that is heartening to me. And that where else are they going to get that? Yeah. And putting them in that, and admittedly, deliberately, it's an uncomfortable situation. We put them in an uncomfortable position that, okay, let's see what you got. Step up. And they do every year, and it's great, and I'm so proud of them. What has your career gone that way? Did that happen to you? Is that your experience?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it still happens daily. There's on our show on San Antonio Living, we do have sponsored content. So that means that people are paying to be on our show. So the way people are trusting you to tell their stories, these people are trusting us with their literal money. And so, you want to shine the best light on them that you can. And so we are dealt with this issue where, now we have to showcase their business. We have to try and give them everything that they want. And then we have to also find out a way to make sure that they listen to our input. As the media expert, this may not work best, but this will. And so you're always, my undergrad, my focus was in public relations. Okay. And that has been one of the biggest things that I've used in media, period. I mean, you have to know how to talk to people to get them what they want. And then you need to be able to connect with someone in a minute. Yes. So that when they go on live TV, they feel comfortable and they feel good sharing their story. And so that is a huge part of what I do every day, and it can be uncomfortable, but figuring out how to make it uncomfortable, that's been a thing that I've really tried working on.
Right. Yeah. You and Shelley have just been phenomenally generous to BexarFest. You've had me on, you've had the kids on, you've had nonprofits on to talk about the process and what they got out of it. And even this year, you aired 5 of the winning videos on 5 consecutive days, which was over the moon. It was unbelievable. And I know you're very involved in San Antonio's nonprofit community, so you know how important that kind of publicity is. Especially, you've got a PR background, so is that the payoff for you? The exposure they get from the festival? The payoff for you is the exposure the nonprofits get at BexarFest.
Mm-hmm. I think that hands down, absolutely. We work with a lot of nonprofits in our city. We are lucky enough to have this work out really perfectly this last BexarFest, where we could showcase all of those winning videos. But to show something and then to get a message about how can I help this nonprofit, remind me of the website, or, to get a message from the nonprofit saying they had, so-and-so reach out to them to volunteer. Nice. That's a huge benefit for the community, of course, for the nonprofit. But at the end of the day, you want to feel good about what you do. Sure. And that's a really easy way to feel good about what you do.
That's a pretty good payoff.
Hear messages like that. Yeah.
Right. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked a little bit about what the kids get out of the festival, and they surprise themselves and learn things they hadn't intended to learn. And I know a lot of the nonprofits, especially those that are in it for the first time, go into the festival with this, okay, we get a free video.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, sure.
Yeah.
And then they engage with the kids, and they go in with the expectation, oh, it's going to be a high school production, cardboard sets, paper costumes, and they're surprised at the ability of the kids. But what they learn, what the nonprofits learn, is that the kids are volunteering to work with them, but they in turn are volunteering to work with the kids, because they're giving the kids this opportunity to experience the production process, but also to say, wow, there's an accountant at the Humane Society. I can be an accountant and love animals. So the nonprofits come out of it with a little bit of a surprise that, oh, we didn't know what we were giving them. And they're more than glad to, they're more than happy to, but it's kind of surprising that, oh, we didn't know that. It's fun.
Yeah, that's great.
I make a point of reminding the students every year at the premiere, because that's the only time I get to talk to them is at the premiere. I make a point of reminding them it's great to be here and see your video in the Tobin and have all this excitement. And of course you want to do that. That's fun. But go back to when you were dragging cables around, and when you were color correcting, and when you were setting up microphones. Enjoy that moment. Enjoy that process. Because that's 90% of it. 10% of it is, we go to a premiere. 90% of it is dragging cables and editing video. Is there a favorite part of the production process for you? Are you the nuts and bolts type?
Oh goodness. Being that I kind of did every job, I still enjoy editing, because you have this vision in your head, and if you know how to edit, you can get that vision down to a T, as opposed to giving it to someone else to figure out. You can do exactly what what you intended. So even now, I still enjoy editing. But my favorite part as a production, on the production side of things, was when I was a production assistant, when we had our station downtown, and we had those huge studio cameras that aren't around so much anymore now with automation. But I'm 5'5", and these cameras are 6'5", however tall they are, and trying to maneuver this huge camera. I loved that part though, because again, I had an idea for a shot, and trying to get creative with this 500-pound camera, however heavy it was. And so figuring out how to move the camera, move myself, and then get the shot that I wanted I loved that feeling. And it's there's power behind finding an interesting way to show something, even if it's just with a 3-second shot, or a full screen, or whatever it is. There's power behind that.
I'm glad you raised that issue. That's a good point that I want to give you a chance to answer. Bearfest is a team event. Nobody makes a video by themselves. You got sound people, you got editors, you got camera operators. It's a team sport. And so I know the answer to this question, but I'm going to let you answer it. Who's the most important person on the team? Can you be a one-man show?
It's never a one-man show. The most important person on the team is usually the person you think the littlest, the least about. But I mean, it starts from the very, there's no job that is not important. And so I have worked pretty much every job, so that's been easy for me to connect with everyone. But don't sell them short. Don't overlook them. Whether it's, your PA or your host, they all need to connect, or else it's not going to work.
The story never happens if somebody doesn't schedule it. So
exactly.
There's a scheduler. The story never happens if somebody doesn't turn on the lights. So there's an electrician. I mean, there's so many links to that chain that it's good to be cognizant of that.
Mhm.
That even if you're the person in front of the camera, your fate is in a lot of hands.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That's great.
That's true.
Denise, thank you so much. Thank
Yeah.
you for joining me. Thank you for making the time. Thanks for bringing your daughter.
Yeah, I can hear her back there. Thank you for letting her photobomb this, but just mentioning her when you get a little older, life, you have to consider life into your career. You know, you have this
Yep.
career and this idea of what you want to do, but me at this point, I can't make a career decision without making a family decision. And I don't, I love my family and I love the job I'm in. It's go for what you want when you're young and you don't have to consider life.
Right.
Just
When
go
it's
for it and life will come later.
Yeah, when the only one that's going to have to sleep in the car is you.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Great advice. Great advice. Thank you so much. Thanks for the time. Thanks for all you've done for BexarCast. I'm honestly
Absolutely.
in your debt forever because you've helped us make what I never imagined this could be. It has become with you and Shelley right there helping us the whole way. So thank you so much.